Well, the first full Saturday of college football arrived in style, especially if you're Alabama. Roll Tide able to dominate 55-0 against Utah State, and Bryce Young, he topped the 100 mark again through the air and ground, accounted for 6 total touchdowns for Alabama in his early campaign for that Heisman, maybe running it back there. The defense was also rolling on all cylinders as well, holding the Aggies to just $136 on that even. Not good for them, but great for number one, especially keeping our guy Dennis Dodd very busy. We're back to football. Checking out the power rankings so far. Alabama checking in number one, right behind them, defending champs in Georgia at number 2. Ohio State able to get that win over Notre Dame at number 3. And then, Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M at 4. Then rounding out the top 10, Oklahoma, Brent Venables getting his first win as the Sooners head coach. Well, the man behind those rankings joining me now, senior college football writer Dennis Dodd, checking in. Look, week 1 is in the books. But we could start there with the top dogs in Alabama and not having a problem at all with the Aggies in Utah State. We know that. Saturday, though, maybe looking forward here, a slight bigger challenge with Texas, that trip to them. What type of test is waiting for them in Austin?
Yeah, so much hype surrounding this game, Brandon, with the teams having not met since Nick Saban won his first national championship at Alabama in that 2010 Rose Bowl, and you can make a case that Texas hasn't had a game-changing quarterback since that time. But this is Quinn Ewers' moment. Quinn Ewers is the transfer quarterback from Ohio State. He's from right down the street at South Lake Carroll up in the Dallas area, and he's a 5-star. I think the situation with Texas, Brandon, is they just have to play close. Look, the 3 biggest games of the season so far have been decided by 11. Ohio State beat Notre Dame. 46, Georgia beat Oregon, and now Alabama's a 20-point favorite on the road, and it just continues to go up. So this is like a sneaky bad game. You think it's sneaky good, sneaky bad. But digging down, Quinn Ewers and Steve Sarkisian have to show well in this game because Texas fans will be merciless. They want a turnaround. They want it now. I don't think Texas is going to win this game. I think the victory, put it that way, is just playing Alabama close into the fourth quarter, maybe in single digits, something like that. They certainly have the offense to do it. But Quinn Ewers, let's get back to him, has thrown 24 passes last week against Louisiana Monroe since he was a junior in high school. I still don't know what this guy is. I think he's really good, but I do know Bryce Young threw 5 touchdowns last week against Utah State, the Mountain West champions, and by the way, is the defending Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers, congratulations, your first game. You get to see Bama coming to you in Austin and prove yourself there against a team. Maybe keep it close. I can guarantee you one thing, Georgia was nothing close in their game. Of course, getting that win, we saw that. And then also you talk about how they vaulted past Ohio State to number 2. Maybe picking up, if we thought the championship game was last week, it seems like they've already rolled the ball into this season, maybe picking up and maybe back as a championship again?
Yeah, I think that's one of the storylines of week 2. Now there's an active conversation about Georgia repeating after they just obliterated Oregon 49-3, the largest victory margin against any ranked team in Georgia history. And they've got the weapons. I mean, Stetson Bennett is peaking right now. Remember after the championship game when we were wondering, well, is he coming back? Where was he going to go? He doesn't have to buy another meal for the rest of his life in Athens, maybe in the state of Georgia. 25 of 31, one of the most efficient games he's ever had in his career. And we have to start talking about this guy being one of the better quarterbacks in the country now. At this time last year, Georgia fans were ready to send him on a slow boat down the river and bring in J.T. Daniels. Where's J.T. Daniels? We know he's at West Virginia, but he's not at the level of Stetson Bennett the fourth. So I think this is a team that not only do you have to start talking about them being in the presence of repeating, but maybe being the number 1 team in the country until further notice.
I want to look at, of course, the Pac-12 here because Oregon not doing themselves any favor there. Utah upset by Florida on the road there in the Swamp. And you look at the conference as a whole, is it already no-no when we're talking about the national picture here for the conference? Because, yes, you got USC there, but these are your best-ranked teams in the conference there, Dennis.
Yeah, very thin margin right now because of Cam Rising throwing that costly interception with 17 seconds left against Florida. They were going in to win the game, at very least kick the game-tying touchdown and take it on the road in an SEC venue in overtime. And then Oregon, I don't see, a selection committee looking at that team for a major bowl and going, wow, is this the Pac-12 champions? So now guess who it's up to, Brandon? If you don't have to squint too far. It's USC. USC coming off a 4-8 season, completely redoing the roster. The Lincoln Riley effect was in effect Saturday against Rice. 66 points, over 500 yards. The Coliseum hadn't been rocking like that in about 15 years since the Pete Carroll days. But the question is, can they turn it totally around and win the Pac-12 and get into playoff contention? I think they can do one. I think they can win the Pac-12. I don't know if they can get into playoff contention.
Would be nice to see if they can get into the playoff contention and then say, oh, all right, we'll see you guys in a few years. We're going to the Big Ten when it comes to the Trojans there at USC. How about a sneaky game for us with Tennessee taking on Pitt, of course. The Panthers 17th ranked in the country there, 1-0, both squads in this one.
Yeah, I think this is two potential top 10 teams at the end of the year. Obviously, Pittsburgh, the defending ACC champs, the discussion in the offseason in the SEC, who's the third best team. And as long as Tennessee has Hendon Hooker, they've got a chance. Number 3 in pass efficiency last year in the country. He was very efficient last week against Ball State, 18 of 25, 2 touchdowns, 221 yards, 8.8 yards per throw. But they take it on the road to Pittsburgh, who had a raucous atmosphere for West Virginia last week. And Brandon, a little bit of controversy already. It looks like the Tennessee ticket allotment is up in the 500 level, up in nosebleed sections. So we're going to have to figure that one out. But Tennessee going on the road after Pittsburgh won in Neyland last year, 41-34. I expect a similar shootout. Keaton Slovitz, they haven't lost too much. Talking about Pittsburgh since the loss of Kenny Pickett. This is a team that I will listen to and watch for the rest of the season as long as Pat Narduzzi is coach. He is my guy.
Something to watch, of course, as we get closer to those teams in the ACC. Want to look at some of those power ranking teams you have. Texas A&M at number 4. Not much of a performance we thought we would see with Hanks King. They kind of slowly won this one out against Sam Houston. Your thoughts on what you saw from Jimbo Fisher and his crew?
Well, effective, a shutout of Sam Houston State. I think a couple of lightning delays or rain delays. Haynes King threw for 363 yards. And look, they were going to win this game. Why would you show anything, particularly with App State coming in, and then the week after that, Miami. So I thought it was very vanilla and very smart by Jimbo Fisher coming in. Think about App State coming in right now. They outscored North Carolina last week in Boone 40-22 in the fourth quarter. There were 10 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, one every 1.5 minutes. And Chase Bryce, if we're going to talk about Clemson and quarterback issues there, used to be a Clemson. All he did was go 25 of 38, 361 for 6 touchdowns against North Carolina. I don't want to say this is going to be a shootout, but it's going to be a challenge to that A&M defense.
App State will be interesting. We saw what they did this past weekend there. How about number 15? You got Notre Dame there. Giving the Buckeyes a little challenge there, but as much as they could, your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I don't think they're an elite team. I think they're a top 15 team right now, hence the ranking. They'll have a chance to show it with the schedule they have to move up. But I thought it was a pretty good debut for Marcus Freeman, who's now 0-2 as a head coach. But that's, we're going to count the bowl game from last year. I thought the biggest development for Notre Dame I saw was the debut of Al Golden as defensive coordinator, veteran assistant. The old Miami coach has a Super Bowl ring with the Bengals. He walked into Ohio Stadium and played a too-high safety look, not anything complicated, but a shell look that challenged C.J. Stroud to throw underneath, and it really kept him a little bit in check for a while. Now, in the second half, he got loose, and they did score 21 points. But those 21 points, Brandon, were the fewest for Ohio State at home since that 31-16 loss, plant flagging loss to Oklahoma State and Baker Mayfield in 2017. So there are issues. And my question is, does that give a blueprint to some of the Big Ten opponents to play that too-high safety look and just have to be more patient for C.J. Stroud? They did lose Jackson Smith and Jigba, according to reports, to a hamstring for 1 or 2 weeks. So that's going to be a challenge going forward for the Buckeyes as well.
All right, we'll see how that pans out for them in the Big Ten over the ACC. Florida State, Mike Norvell gets an important win versus LSU. 2-0 for the first time the program since 2016. Your thought about that win that we kind of saw was back and forth with the turnovers a lot, in and out where we thought they were going to lose, and the way it panned out, your thoughts on how you got it done?
Yeah, well, in the moment I said at the end, it looked like Les Miles had snuck into the building. And in reality, Mike Norvell kind of snuck out of the building with his job. They had a 24-10 lead. I don't know what they were doing running a toss near the goal line at the end when all they had to do was take 3 knees, kick a field goal, go up by 2 scores with less than a minute to go and get out of there. But be that as it may, boy, Mike Norvell and Florida State really needed this type of game. They ran the ball well. Alex Atkins, the new offensive coordinator, who doesn't call plays, gets a lot of credit for the game plan. Mike Norvell still calls plays, but they just needed something good to happen. They were trending up. The recruiting was good in the offseason. The offensive line, I thought, was better. They were certainly more disciplined than LSU. That was a big disappointment for Brian Kelly in the opener. And then things may be looking up. When they go 7-5 and people are maybe calling for Mike Norvell's job, I think you can point to that game in the opener and say, see, we did make progress. So good for Mike Norvell, good for the Seminoles.
It'll get interesting in October. They have Wake Forest, NC State, and Clemson there the first couple of weeks. We'll see how Mike Norvell can keep it together for FSU. As always, Dennis Dodd breaking it down, getting us ready as we look into week 2 as well.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.